Okay, fellas, welcome back from your holiday. Hope you're doing well. Ready for a big pre-season. We've got a month and a half until we take on BATE in the Conference League knockouts. First time in European knockouts, so we need to be ready to hit the ground running. But we are going to be changing our tactic for this year. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 43 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and today we have a big episode. We have the first knockout round of the Conference League taking on Zealand's favourites from Belarus and BATE Borisov. We've also got the transfer window opening up around midway through this tie. So off the back of this BATE tie, we'll run you guys through all the new additions to the squad, and we are also trying out vertical tiki-taka as well. So if you are looking forward to this episode to start off 2025 in game, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. But we will start off today's episode just having a quick look at how we have played in the pre-season. Of course, we have also started off the deal to Bakar, bearing in mind that we have changed the tactic off the back of that Young Boys 0-0 draw. That was the second game of yesterday's episode. If you missed that episode, our last two Europa League group stage games, and I will leave a link to that above my head in the top right corner, albeit you can see the results on screen. No goals in those games means that we did just get pipped for a Europa League knockout spot, but we are in the Conference League knockouts, and off the back of yesterday's episode, we scheduled a fair few friendlies off the back of a month-long break before the pre-season, about a month-long pre-season as well. And you can see we started off this vertical tiki-taka looking quite good in our first few games, albeit not beating much in terms of opposition, but scoring a lot of goals, so that boded well. Unfortunately, hasn't quite carried over into the deal to Bakar so far, which is a little bit frustrating. A 1-0 win at home against Cordringa, which was thanks to a Yao Pedro penalty after 19 minutes. A little bit frustrating. That was our only goal, because you look at the stats there, we should have won that game a lot more comfortably. Then we put out the second 11 for this most recent game against Selfos with this upcoming BATE one in mind, and we only picked up a 0-0 draw away from home. So deal to Bakar, luckily the board don't care about it too much. It's a good competition to be trying out a new tactic in because of that, but just not quite hitting the ground running at the moment with it, especially the backup 11, as they did struggle just a little bit in that game, still out XG the opposition, but just a little bit of a poor performance from these guys in that most recent game against Selfos, albeit when we enter the next deal to Bakar game, we will have quite a few new players in the second 11 starting to work their way into getting into the first 11 for the start of the league season once this transfer window does open in 1 day's time. So looking at our deal to Bakar group before we head into this first league of the Conference League knockouts, we are on top on 4 points, but it's a very condensed group. Us and Proto tied on top there, and there's not much splitting these teams after only 2 match weeks. And you will notice our next game is against Proto. A win there would do us the world of good of getting out of this group and trying to win this League Cup for the 4th season in a row. But as I said before, a competition that the board don't care too much about, and that's why it was a good little testing ground for this new tactic, which we are going to try in these Conference League qualifiers. I had a little bit of a thought about going back to the wing play, but to be fair, we have looked quite good for the most part with this vertical tiki-taka. Just need a bit more end product, and I think we will be okay. So time to go and have a look at this tactic that we have got going in to today's game. We'll bump it out. It is exactly the same tactic that we did use in our taking over Tottenham beta save. It's pretty similar to what we already had at the club here as well. The only changes that we have made in terms of roles is that our goalkeeper is now a sweeper keeper on support. Our central defenders are now ball-playing defenders. We've got a Mazzala instead of a Carolero, and we've also switched the sides for those two midfielders so that they are on their preferred sides for their preferred feet. And the wingers have now turned into inverted wingers, but apart from that, it is vertical tiki-taka, pretty similar, playing with a standard defensive line, higher line of engagement attacking wise, exactly the same shape, and you can already see the familiarity with this tactic is pretty good, but this worked really well for us in the Tottenham save, and I think we're now at a level here compared to the other Icelandic clubs where we can play this tactic and should be quite dominant in the domestic competition. So hopefully that will translate well once we get a little bit more used to it into European competition as well. But we'll see how we go in these games against BATE. If it doesn't work after the first league, we could always switch back to the wing play that we're a bit more accustomed to, but I think this tactic should work quite well for us, quite similar to what we were doing anyway. A lower tempo, but that might suit us getting some better chances off anyway. So that is what the tactic looks like. It's very similar to what we were doing, but instead of playing wing play, we have now gone to vertical tiki-taka. Hopefully we can do something similar to what we did with Tottenham winning the Conference League in our first season of that save, albeit the caliber of players that we do have here at Volsungur not quite as good as what Tottenham have on offer yet. It is fair to say. And we've also got a little bit of transfer news before this first game as well, because we have signed a right back on a free transfer, and that means that we have been able to actually register him for the Conference League. And this is a Uruguayan right back. Bamba is on the retreat. He's a player we might look at getting rid of, albeit he is still quite a bit better than both Carlo and Garrido, our young backup right back. So I thought we could potentially improve in this area, and Guillermo Coutinho came through the trial system that we do have here at Volsungur, a well-rounded wing back, so he is in line to eventually become our new starting right back, and will probably at some stage start to phase Bamba out, depending on his performances. He is on the last year of his contract here at Volsungur this season as the 34-year-old, but this guy joins us on a free transfer, looks a very well-rounded wing back, highest rated one at the club. No potential, but we've got a lot of players who can back him up, who could surpass him by the time that we are done with using this guy. Anyway, he has spent recent time at Deportivo Maldonado in Uruguay, has had a little bit of experience in Europe, in Poland, and hopefully he can do a good job for us when called upon. He will be the backup right back to Bamba to start off the knockout phases of the Conference League. But having another quick look at BATE now that we've gone forward a couple of months since the end of yesterday's episode, they now find themselves second in the Belarus League. No names there that are overly familiar in their 11. They finished second in their group in the Conference League, and that was not the strongest group if we go and have a look at that, finishing a distant second behind Shakhtar, but a little way in front of teams from Greece and Cyprus. So it's a group that they probably should have been getting out of. I feel like we might go into this game as the favourites, as long as we do play decently with this new tactic that we do have here at Volsungur. In terms of our squad going into this game, we have no injuries, as you would have seen before. That means we have been able to re-register Nicolucci Caviglia. He is back in the first team, our captain, our box-to-box midfielder, the best player at the club. He is back in the mix, otherwise close to being at full strength. I actually told a lie before, because Corbo picked up a yellow card in the second game of yesterday's episode against Young Boys. That means he is suspended for this first leg. So because of that, we are going to start Raul Prada at centre-back. He's the best of a average bunch, it's fair to say, of our backup centre-back options. We've got both Shaun and Sigurd Bjornsson on the bench, who could come on for Prada should he struggle. Shaun also there as a little bit of left-back backup just in case we do need it, but otherwise we are at full strength. Hopefully we can pick up a good result here, the first leg away from home, at least take a draw going into the home league, and hopefully we can get a good result in that second leg and make our way through to the second knockout round of the Conference League. But we will be back shortly for the first leg of these Conference League knockout first round games from the Borisov Arena in Belarus. And we have TV coverage for this game in Borisov. There is the BATE team playing a 4-2-3-1 in case you are interested in what they line up like. There is our team as we ran through before, the new Volsungur tiki-taka. We'll see how this gets on in its first European test away from home in Belarus. 9 minutes gone and we have an early corner in this game. Nicolucci in for Mbuyamba, flicks it on for Bjarkason at the far post, and we go 1-0 up nice and early, and that's exactly what we need after being a little bit slow away in those first few games of the Deal to Bakar. Up until this point, it was 3 shots to none. We were looking quite dominant stats-wise anyway, but with the first highlight in Mbuyamba, flicks it on for Bjarkason at the far post, and we do go 1-0 up away from home. And not long off the back of that opener is a throw-in to BATE in the yellow, playing from right to left, although that's a sloppy pass, and they do give the ball to Bonnet, a player who might not last in this first team much longer once the transfer window does open up, but we'll get to that off the back of these BATE games and run you guys through the transfers that we have made. Nicolucci, that's a poor ball from him there as we were on the attack, albeit it's a poor header there from one of the BATE players, and we are back on the attack. Pedro, nice ball there for Bjarkason, trying to pick up an early double, forces a good save there out of the BATE goalkeeper, but we do look quite good early on in this game. Another corner for Imbiamba, this time heads it over the bar, and it does remain 1-0 Volsungur after quarter of an hour. 23 minutes gone, we have a throw-in, albeit deep inside our own half, but shortly we do get the ball up to Pedro. Game just goes a little bit freezy on me there for a second, but we do still hold possession now. Nicolucci Caviglia back in European competition for the first time in quite a while after the injury that he picked up last year, but we do now start to drive forward. Pedro Sviderski, Bjarkason looking for another early double. That is a superb save there from the BATE goalkeeper. That looked like it was destined for the left-hand corner, but it does remain 1-0. The corner dealt with safely there from BATE for now. We'll just see if anything else comes from this highlight as we knock the ball around just outside the box. We do eventually lose possession, but creating some really good chances. Still only 1-0 up though. 28 minutes gone, and we have another highlight here. Just told Bamba to ease off tackles, and something has kicked off, seeing as he's picked up a yellow card. That means our new right back might get on in the second half in this game, depending on how things are going and how Bamba is going. Bamba puts a ball in there for Pedro. It's a simple finish, and just shy of the half-hour mark, we make it 2-0 Volsungur after struggling in our first few competitive games with this vertical tiki-taka. It looks like it has clicked right into gear at the perfect time. Either that or we have a much better team than BATE, which is also possible with us dropping down from the Europa League into these Conference League knockouts. But a good little ball there from Bamba into the feet of Pedro. Simple sweep home from him, and we go 2-0 up right on the half-hour mark. And shortly off the back of making it a double, it is a throw-in here to BATE Borisov. They start to get something going there down the left-hand side, and they now switch it out down to this left-hand side, and they just knock it about shortly. Karasev, as they look to get something going in this game. They will want a goal soon to try and get back into this at their home ground. If we can pile the misery on here, it would be quite nice. A good away win to take back into the home league, and we do get the ball back there through Isidore. Heads it forward to João Pedro, back to Isidore. Nicolucci Caviglia just holding things up. Now Isidore starts to drive forward down our right-hand side into that patch of ice. Back to Nicolucci Caviglia. Bamba, nice ball, far post for Bjarkason, and he will pick up a double just past the half-hour mark, and this is going very well, this vertical tiki-taka. We are 3-0 up inside the first half of the first leg of this Conference League knockout tie, and this is looking very good for us at the moment. Good ball there from Bamba, his second assist of the game. Bjarkason with his second goal with that far post header, and it is 3-0 inside the first half. And it is half-time in the first leg of this Conference League knockout game, and we have been absolutely superb. BATE without a single shot on target, possession fairly even, but we are doing a lot more with our possession than they are doing with theirs. Very happy with how this is going after 45 minutes. At some point in the second half, we might try out our new Uruguayan right back with Bamba on a yellow card, but he is playing quite well at the moment, so we'll tell the boys that they are doing well. Try and keep it up. 3-0 up as we start off the second 45 minutes of this first leg. 46 minutes gone, we are in possession inside the final third, nice and early to start off this second half. Can we bang in a few more goals here? And that's a good effort from Nicolucci Caviglia, a good save from their goalkeeper. Yet again, he's actually had quite a good game. Here's the BATE goalkeeper. The scoreline could be a lot worse than it already is. Imbiamba gets his head on the end of the corner, but it goes over the bar. Early chance for us, but it does remain 3-0. And now up to the 50-minute mark, we have yet another highlight. Looks like we are well and truly in control of this game, and that does bode well for this vertical tiki-taka with the first teams. Looks like it might just take us to that next level that we need to be on. That's a great ball there for Sviderski, but unfortunately his shot is straight at the BATE goalkeeper, and it does remain 3-0 after 50 minutes. 56 minutes gone, and now we have a corner, so continuing to put the pressure here on BATE. It's a good flick on from Imbayamba there for Isidore, but a good save from the goalkeeper, and still 3-0 as we approach the hour mark. 64 minutes gone, and BATE look to get something going in this game. They are still yet to have a shot, although we do get possession off them very quickly, and now look to make our way forward inside their half. Bjarkason to Pedro Sviderski, out to Leandro Diaz in a little bit of space inside the byline, puts that in for Pedro, and he picks up his second goal of the game, and this is total domination from Volsungur here. It is 4-0 with 25 minutes left of the first leg, and we have looked very good with this new tactical style. Leandro Diaz given a ton of space out there on the left-hand side, while Pedro making his way nicely towards the near post, tucks it away nicely, and we go up 4-0 in the away leg. And we do have a restart highlight here, so it'll be interesting to see if BATE look to strike back. They are going to need a goal soon. If we can get one more, we might not actually have to show you guys the second leg. We might just go straight into the transfers, with this being quite a busy episode, but this has been a very dominant game and performance from us so far, looking with the best that we have so far in Europe across the save, you could argue, and it's good to see it happen in the knockout stages, the first time that we do enter them in a European competition, even if it is only the Conference League. There's a great chance for Pedro one-on-one to make it 5-0, but a good save pulled out of the BATE goalkeeper. But so far, all the action has been in our favour in this game. Imbayamba can't win that header, but it goes back out to Isidore. It's a bit of a poor ball, that one. It ends up being a goal kick to BATE, but I think it's time for us to now make our first substitution. Bamba has played well, but we're going to try out Guillermo Coutinho for the last 24 minutes of this game. Get Bamba off with that yellow card, but 24 minutes left. We hold a very good 4-0 advantage. 74 minutes gone, and we have yet another highlight potentially in our favour. A throw-in. Isidore wins the header. Nicolucci Caviglia. Nice ball there for Bjarkason, looking for his hat-trick, but forces a good save yet again out of the BATE goalkeeper at his near post. This scoreline could be a lot worse than it is. Then it's Imbayamba flicking it on for Wilson. Isidore at the far post. We're probably about to take him off on a red heart, but he makes it 5-0, and we are crushing the Belarusian outfit here. It is an absolute spanking at their home ground. 5-0. Imbayamba picks up another assist potentially there, falls to Isidore, and he just smacks that through the defence. A little bit of a deflection from one of their defenders. We will take him off on that red heart off the back of that goal. Patrick Nygaard can get some game time, but we are looking in superb touch. 5-0 up with 15 minutes left to play. And 81 minutes gone now. Time for us to make our last substitution. Nicolucci Caviglia still coming back somewhat from injury, having a very good game in 8.6. We will take him off to make sure our best player does not get injured. Gavioli on for him still. Looking really good in this game so far. 5-0 up late in the first away leg. 85 minutes gone. We have a late highlight in this game. Can we make it 6, or will BATE get a late chance in this game? They now have hit a shot on target. Pedro, though, looking for his hat-trick, but can't quite beat the goalkeeper at his near post. All the highlights in this game have been in our favour. It has been a very pleasing performance on the eye. That corner is dealt with safely from BATE, and with 4 minutes of regulation time left to go in this game, we are looking very comfortable, up by 5-0. We now make our way inside 2 minutes of injury time, but that is a superb win, and that might mean now that we potentially don't actually have to show you guys the second leg of this tie. We might just get straight into the transfers, as that might take about the same time as the second leg of this game would have. But that was a superb performance, everyone on form, and a very, very good 5-0 win away from home. It's a result which should see us already pretty safe as houses in the next round of the Conference League knockouts. With that in mind, I think we will just skip over the second leg. We'll come back shortly, show you guys the highlights of that one, and then we will introduce the players that we have bought on transfer at the start of this window to you guys. And back with the highlights of the second leg. Before this opening goal, we did suffer a serious injury, which we will get to shortly, but opened the scoring at the 10-minute mark. Bjarkason with yet another goal. That's his third across the 2 legs of this tie to make it 6-0 on aggregate, 1-0 on the day. And then very late on, Patrick Nygaard with an absolute stunner into the top left corner, and we win that game pretty comfortably, 2-0. We made a few little changes there just to make sure that players on yellow cards would not get banned for the first leg of the next tie. I thought that was quite smart, and we still picked up a pretty comprehensive 2-0 win, not quite as dominant as that game that you did just see in full, but that is still a very good performance with the new tactic to start off these Conference League knockouts. But what you will notice down there in the notable events is after 7 minutes, Wilson Isidore did get forced from the field. That's why Patrick Nygaard was on to score that screamer late. And unfortunately, if we go over to the medical centre, you will see that he has a hamstring strain and is out for 2 to 4 weeks. So he is likely to be missing the second knockout round of the Conference League, which will be coming up in the next episode. We'll get to the draw for that fairly shortly off the back of introducing you guys to these other transfers. But we did also have a Deal to Bakar game before that second leg of the Conference League knockouts. An early top of the group clash away at Proto and it was a deflected Helia Fredriksson, who is a new signing, an Icelandic goalkeeper in goal. Couldn't quite deflect that into the right path, and Proto did go up 1-0 early, but then right before half-time, Ledson grabbed a goal to make it 1-0 going into the sheds. Unfortunately, we were on the attack early in the second half, but a long ball forward played there to Molina, and they make it 2-1 early in the second half here to Proto. But with about 20 minutes to go in the 69th minute, Gavioli to Sakularak. Nice ball again there for Ledson, and we do grab an equaliser. A little bit of a disappointing result yet again here for the rotation team, just taking a little bit longer to get used to this tactic. And also, there's a few new faces in this team as well that will not be helping. Might take a little while for these guys to get used to each other, but a 2-2 draw away, not a terrible result, I suppose, albeit we are just struggling a little bit in the Deal to Bakar so far. As I said earlier, luckily the board don't care about this competition, but we are looking to win it for the 4th season in a row, which would be nice. We are still joint top, but we are now second below Keflavik on goal differential, but still right in the hunt for that Deal to Bakar. Hopefully, we can make our way out of this group, win our remaining 2 games, and find a way to try and retain the Deal to Bakar and win it for the 4th straight season. So that's what things are looking like at the end of the gameplay segment of today's episode. But it is time to run through the transfers that we have made now that we are about a week after the transfer window did open up. And as you can see on screen, we have done a fair bit of business. So to tidy things up, first we will go through the outs. Most of these are players who haven't really been featuring for the first team recently. Mohamed Toure is a youngster who we have loaned out to Feta Bigo. He is an 18-year-old who should get some decent game time there. Hopefully he can grow a little bit, albeit as a player who we might look at offloading in the near future anyway. Doesn't really have the potential to be a factor here at Volsungur, but we have let 3 players go. One of them was a young Argentinian that we did sign from South America. I think it was at the start of last season, Juan Alvarengo. He made his way up from the under-19s to the senior squad, and he got really hissy about the fact that I would not loan him out to a foreign club. So after a while, I just decided that we'd get rid of him. He does have quite good potential, but he was kicking up a real stink. It was impacting the dynamics in the squad, and no domestic club was after him. So we have let him go to Victoriano Arenas in Argentina for £2,000. In the end, we did pick him up on a free transfer. We potentially could have got a lot more money for this guy, but he never played for us, and we've made an ever so slight profit there. Would have liked to keep him in the country at a fellow Icelandic club, but as I said, he was kicking up a real fuss, so we decided to part ways with him, despite him having quite good potential when he was at the club. Didn't actually look that great, so we have let Juan Alvarengo go, albeit a player you didn't see too much of as he was hiding away in the under-19s, but then we let go of 2 right backs, and they have both gone to the same team in Akranes, the team that stayed up after getting promoted last season. Milan Radovic, he has gone there on a free transfer, the right back from Montenegro. Most of his game time here came back in the 2023 season, and most of that was off the bench anyway. 6 appearances for 1 goal, a 7.02 average rating spent last year out on loan at Paul, where he got a bit more game time, but in the end, this wasn't quite up to the quality of the right backs that we did have at the club these days, so we have let him go to Akranes on a free transfer, and joining him is Victor Mafio, a player who just didn't quite cut it with all those right backs that we have added to the squad, as well likes of Bamba, Carlo, Garrido. In the end, just not quite the same level as he was compared to the rest of the squad when we bought this guy in at the start of 2022. Had a few decent seasons for us, 2022 and 2023, but his game time reduced last season. We loaned him out to Fjolnir for the second half of the season, and now he is left for Akranes for £5,000 again. We potentially could have got a little bit more for this guy, but to see him go to a fellow Icelandic club, we decided it would sell him for a little bit less than we potentially could have got for him. So those are the sales, tidying up a little bit of over depth that we did have in the right back slot. But in terms of the players that we have added to the squad here at Volsungur, Pat Ainska is an American right winger. He's actually been at the club for quite a while, but he's only been able to join now that he has recently turned 18, 2.5-star current ability, does have 4/5-star potential, so he could be a very good player for us. And with him joining at 18 years old, he could still become both homegrown at club and in nation. So a good addition for us there with the former New England Revolution man. He will be spending his initial time at the club down in the under-19s, as will Frederick Larsen. This is the first of the most recent additions, a Danish right winger who we also picked up on a free transfer. He's actually more of a left winger, is quite strong on both 3-star current ability, 3.5-star potential, but that could go up to 4.5-star potential. He looks like a great pickup on a free transfer. We'll spend the first season here in the under-19s. We might call upon him should we get a few injuries in the top team, and he has spent some recent time in Denmark at OB and Vendissel, so he looks like a quite good pickup. A few good seasons for Vendissel, especially that first one that he did have there down in the second division, but he looks like a very promising player to join the club there, does Frederick Larsen. Then we get on to Guillermo Coutinho, who you saw earlier. He is going to be working his way to becoming the top right back here at Volsungur for this upcoming season. And then we have a few free transfers from domestic clubs, as these guys were not going to get their contracts renewed, so we did decide to go after them just to make sure that they did stay in the country, and they are young talents as well. The first of those is Haraldur Sigurdsson, a 2.5-star attacking midfielder. We're going to try and train this guy up as a Mazzala, but 18 years old, already homegrown in nation, which is great, and he could potentially go up to 4.5-star ability, so he was a good pickup for us on a free transfer. Should help us improve our homegrown and nation base for UEFA competition registration. That was one of the reasons I was keen to pick players up like this when they did become available, when clubs were not going to renew the contracts of these guys. And the other teammate of his that we did sign is a young striker, Imantas Stepanovicius. He has 2-star ability, 3-star potential, but that could go up to 4, 11 finishing. He should provide a good little additional bit of depth there in that position, and it is a position that we have struggled a little bit in behind Well Pedro, especially last season. So those are 2 free pickups that we did get from Nats, and then we bought a player from an Icelandic club, and I think this is potentially the best transfer that we have made in this most recent window. I know you guys are going to be saying, why have you signed a player from a fellow Icelandic club? And that is because Bologna of Italy also put a bid in for this guy, and we won over them. So that is very nice. This is Brynjar Gatarsson. I remember putting a bid in for this guy when his contract was about to expire at the end of last season. Bologna also had a bid in for him at that stage, but he decided to stay with Nats KR. Since then, Nats KR just avoided the drop in the league last season, so it's not like we're weakening a team who were in European competition with us anyway. It was a team who only just survived in the top division. This guy is very good for 19 years old. He immediately becomes the best defensive midfielder at the club, so he is a player who will work his way into this first 11 for the start of the league season, or when we can re-register players for the Conference League. He has had a good couple of seasons at Nats KR, 2 good solid years of football, and we intend to have him as our starting defensive midfielder, a good young talent, quite a bit better than Bonnet in that halfback role when comparing their attributes to Brynjar Gatarsson. We have bought him from a fellow Icelandic club, but that is only because Bologna of Italy were also in for him, and he cost us £120,000. So that is a good bargain transfer. Next up, we started to buy some Icelandic players from foreign clubs. The first of those, Oraharthnen Hjartansson. He is from Welwick, which, if we go back and have a look, is a team in Holland. So he comes back to Iceland, homegrown in nation. So yet again, that allows us to potentially start using some stronger homegrown nation players in our European squads, which means that we can just, on the whole, have a better squad, seeing as we now can register the likes of Kurt Shaw as our backup centre-back. That was one of the real issues that I thought we did have for European squads at the moment. Our homegrown nation players weren't quite good enough, so we were just a little bit weak in that department. But this is a guy who is mainly going to be a fringe player. I don't really know exactly where his best position is. You can see he is quite versatile. I think we're just going to train him up in the midfield, but we have bought him back to Iceland, 2.5-star current ability for £400,000, and he is a decent squad option. Should be a player who we can call upon when needed to be of use to us in European competitions, especially just to boost up the options that we do have for homegrown nation players. 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential, so he still has a little bit of potential despite being 23 years old. Then we make our way forward to Porstein Arnason. This was the player that we covered off at the start of the episode 2 back. This is the guy that we signed from the Molde under-19s. He was about to become Norwegian. We did not want that. He is here. He is going to be staying as an Icelandic player, and that means that he is still available for the national team, and he's actually a little bit better than Patrick Nygaard, our current backup right winger, so we're going to be training him up as an inverted winger. He has very good physicals, as we covered a few episodes ago, and he joins us for a bit more of a hefty fee, £1.2 million. It's one of our biggest deals of this window. In fact, it is the biggest deal of this window, but I think it makes sense just to make sure that he can stay in the Icelandic national team system, and he is quite promising as Porstein Arnason immediately makes his way onto the fringes of that first 11. Off the back of that, we made a few more free transfers. These are players who are Icelandic, homegrown in nation. The first of those is Einar Karl Ingvarsson, 2.5-star current ability and potential, can play all across the front area of the field and is homegrown in nation. So that's the reason that we did sign him. I think we're actually going to train him up as a backup striker with that 12 finishing, but another player who is going to be on the fringes for us. He has spent some recent time at Stjarnan, and he makes his way back up to the islands, dealing with us after he was released from his contract. And we have signed, as you would have seen in that past game, a backup Icelandic goalkeeper. This is an area which really does help us out in terms of European registration. Having a backup goalkeeper who is trained in nation means that we free up some other spots for foreign players in the European competitions. 2.5-star current ability and potentials is pretty similar to Richmond Bardu. Had a little bit of a shocker in that first game there against Proto Reykjavik, but hopefully he can improve on that after a couple of seasons where he was solid for Nuts. KR got released on a free, and hopefully he will be a decent backup option for us in the European competitions when called upon. Then we signed a young goalkeeper who hopefully is going to become homegrown in nation sooner rather than later, and that is Tiago, 18 years old, Spanish. He makes his way into the under-19s, 3-star potential, but hopefully he's going to be another player who becomes homegrown in nation. That should help us out with the European registration in future years. We had this guy on trial back in 2023, didn't think he was quite up to it. He went to Fidabigo, but then got released on a free transfer, and we have picked him up after trialling him since then, and he will be sitting in the under-19s as a backup goalkeeper. Hopefully he can grow and become a decent backup option for the first team in a few years' time. And then a few more serious transfers with first team implications. First off, we signed a proper backup striker on loan, but this is with a £2.4 million optional future fee, and this is Bjorn Boggy Goodness, and he looks like a very good homegrown nation striking backup option. 21 years old, 15 finishing, 15 first touch. His composure and decisions aren't great, but his overall technical skills, I think, make him a quite good looking backup striking option, and he is going to be ideal for European registration for the next European season, having a backup striker who is homegrown in nation and a little bit better than the options that we did have at the club, the likes of Hilmarsson and young Arnason. This guy is quite a bit better, and if he impresses us, we can sign him, albeit for a little bit of a hefty sum of £2.4 million, but for a local lad who meets the European registration needs for our club, that could be a quite good deal. He spent his recent time at Heerenveen in Holland, has not got a great deal of game time for them, not too many goals, but hopefully he can do a good job for us here in the Islands deal, and he'll be our starting striker for that backup 11, and hopefully he can help that team get a few more goals than they did last season and help us win the league a little bit more comfortably than we did last season as well. And our final transfer for now is a backup centre back. I just felt like we needed to strengthen our centre back options in that backup team. We have signed a player from Zimbabwe for that, and Andrew Mbeba. This is a guy the scouts have been keen on for quite some time. He's only cost us £7,500 to bring to the club. He is decent aerial threat, and he should do a good job for us based on those pros and cons. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential. He will partner Kurt Shaw in the backup team, and hopefully that will also help us out to retain our league title a little bit more comfortably than we did in the most recent season. He joins us, having spent recent time at Highlanders in Zimbabwe, and as you can see, very good average ratings for him in that league. Hopefully that translates over into the Icelandic league, and that covers off all of our transfer business, albeit if we go over and have a look at the under-19s, you will see we've got a few players in the future who are going to be joining us on free transfers as well. These are players who we have signed after they got released from their South American contracts, and they have enough potential that we want to get them involved, and with them joining as soon as they turn 18 years old, they are players who, if they stay the full distance, will become both homegrown in nation and homegrown in club as well. So a few South American players who hopefully in a couple of years' time will be homegrown in both club and nation that we can use as well. And by then, hopefully they would have realised that good potential that they do currently have. So it has been a very busy transfer window here at Volsungur. You won't see some of those players for a little while yet, just because of European registration rules. We can't chop and change things too much, but come the start of the league season and Champions League qualifying for next season, later on in 2025, we will be able to get some of those players, most notably Galtason. He will get involved in the first team in place of someone like Lilamosa. He might be a player that we look to get rid of midway through this season. So it's been a busy transfer window. I think we have definitely improved the overall strength of the squad, and we've also added a lot of homegrown nation options, and that only helps us for the registration in European competitions. It means we should be a lot deeper in various areas where we want to be. We now have a lot of options to fill that criteria for the European registration. But that just about does it for today's episode. But we do, before we wrap things up, have the draw for tomorrow's episode, the second knockout round of the Conference League, off the back of that very good win against BATE Borisov earlier in today's episode. Interesting to see the likes of Legia Warsaw in this round of the Conference League. That's a team that we did beat in Champions League qualifying earlier on in last season, I suppose it is now. You can also see Dynamo Kiev there as well. That's another team that we did beat in Champions League qualifying, but there's also some big guns in this competition, or some medium guns, I suppose, when you look at the likes of Everton. But there's the likes of Napoli, who did a bit of a number on our group in the Conference League last season, Lille. So we will see who we get in the second knockout round, and immediately we come up and we are drawn against Russia's Spartak Moscow. So we have got another Russian team, Lokomotiv Moscow, we did share results with in the group stages of the Europa League, and with this being the Conference League, I imagine Spartak Moscow are just a little bit worse than what Lokomotiv were. So that could be another quite winnable tie for us, hopefully, in the second knockout round of Conference League qualifiers. And that game is coming up in just about a week's time. So that is going to be our next fixture overall. In fact, that will come before the Half Nafshador game, the next one in the Delta Bakar. But they currently find themselves fifth in the Russian Premier League. Do Spartak Moscow just down below Lokomotiv Moscow by a couple of points, albeit Lokomotiv, it does look like, have a game in hand. So not too much separating those two teams. It will be interesting to see how we get on against those guys in tomorrow's episode. And hopefully we can make our way through to the quarterfinals of the Conference League. But that will do it for today's episode. I know it was a big one, only the one game in the end, because we got the job done so comfortably there against BATE Borisov, but also a bunch of transfers. We do still have about 3.85 million left in the transfer budget as well, and a pretty hefty wage budget left as well to go alongside that. So we still could potentially look at signing a couple of young wonder kids that do want to join the club, hopefully before the end of this transfer window. But if you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Tomorrow we will just be focusing on that Conference League game, the second knockout round against Spartak Moscow. Also a little bit of an update on how we are getting on with that backup team in the deal to Bakar, see if we can hold on to that for the 4th season in a row. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.